Welcome back, guys. Glad to see you here again. So today we're going to do a post request to the server for making a post for our cats. So basically, first thing first, I want to show you where can you find this application. So if you go to evaluation of GitHub, you should search for repos mytest.asp.NET DB, and after that you should go there. Inside this you can go in source, and after that you can go in 5 preview and Angular 9, and if you go there you can see that we have two folders. The first one is client, which is the front-end application, and the second one is server, which is the back-end application. So if you want, you can go there, clone the repo, and see all we have done so far. So okay, basically today we're going to do a couple of things. Let me start the application and let us think what should we do right now. So if you go and download this repo, you should do a couple of things here. For Angular, you should go to the folder and say something like npm install. If you do that, it's going to install everything that is a dependency for this project. And the main thing here is that when you commit a project to GitHub, by default, node modules, the node modules folder, is ignored. So basically, when you commit something, you have to be aware of that. Your audience, which want to use your project, should do this npm install. Okay, after I have to say ng-serve. Let's see now. Okay, starting. So basically, we're going to go to localhost 4200, and we're going to see if our application appears. Of course, here we do not expect anything because we have routes, and our routes are for /login and /register. So basically, I have to say /login, login, and the form appears. Okay, so let me open Visual Studio Code. So we're going to do another component, which will be, for now we're doing components. After that I'm going to make a huge refactoring with modules and so on. But for now we're keeping it simple, and we're doing basically a lot of components, and after that we're going to pack them into modules. And that will be very cool, and I'm going to explain you what is lazy loading, which is a very cool concept in Angular, and but that's going to be at the end of this tutorial series. So right now I'm going to create another component. Okay, bear with me. So how was it? ng-gc create post. Okay. So again, I'm remembering. Again, I have to say that here we have updated app module, which is cool, and we have to do the very same thing. Basically, this is a web development, so in most cases you're doing again and again the very same thing with a different logic. So we're going to do here again reactive form, and we're going to call a service. Another service, we're going to make another service for this cat stuff, and so on. And after that we're going to think about how we can protect our application on the front side of this. So basically we're going to create guards. Okay, so right now we have to take another form, which will be a copy-paste development. I'm going to go to login and basically get this. After that I'm going to go to create post and paste the code here. But because we're not going to do login form, we're going to do post form or cat form. Let's call it cat form. And we're going to say that we are going to create here on submit. And basically our application for now is accepting the URL, image URL, and after that is accepting a description. So basically we need here something like let's say image URL. And after that we're going to say for here that we are going to need a description. Okay, but here's the interesting part. I have an input field, but let's say that we want to write larger descriptions. So basically what we can do here is to turn this input field into text field. So I'm going to say text area. Let me see if there is any Bootstrap class for this, because we started with Bootstrap framework and let's keep it with that. So if I go to components, after that I jump into forms, and let's say I'm looking for text area. Okay, so here it is, text area example. As you can see here, we have form group, and we have this form control class again with this ID which is not needed for us, and we have rows tree. Okay, if I copy that and go here, I can substitute this with this. And again, I have to say that this is for my description part. And I'm going to delete that. Basically, if you delete this ID and if you're not going to use that. Okay, so basically if you delete this ID, because in Angular you don't use this approach for... Okay, so let me show you what the cat is doing right now. So basically this is its toy and this is the cat. Okay, so please go away. Okay, so right now we are going to see if this is working correctly, but first of all let me create this form. So I'm going to say that this is a cat form, and here again it's going to be of type form group. After that I have to add this form group from import form group. I don't know why my auto importing does not work, but that doesn't matter. From add Angular /forms. Okay, so now we have it. And after that I'm going to say that in the constructor of my class I'm going to initialize this cat form. It's going to be equal to a form builder. So I'm going to inject private FB of type form builder. And after that I'm going to say this fb.group. Oh yeah, so I have this, and basically I have to see what are the fields. By the way, a cool thing here is that we're going to have a Swagger, and we're not going to need these notepad things to remember what we have to do after. So for now I'm working with that. We're going to have image URL and description. Okay, so I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to say that here is going to be the image URL, and the first parameter will be empty, because I know that the image URL will be required field. I'm going to do the validation here in front end too. So I'm going to say validation required. I believe that here we have a description field which isn't going to be required. So I'm going to say just this description field is equal to an empty string, array of empty string. Okay. So right now I have to bind my controls. So the first control here, let me just close this. The first control here will be image URL. By the way, if you're wondering, here I have this lowercase. As you can see, username is with lower letter, and here I have upper. But that doesn't matter. If you send image URL like this, it does not have any problem with that. Okay, so let's go and just bind the controllers. After that I'm going to need this description, and I'm going to say that this text area will have form control name, and this form control name will be equal to description. Okay, that's cool. So we are not going to use this validation here because it's not required field, and we're going to change this. If you remember, I have made these getters for my forms, so I'm going to say let's say image URL, it's going to be a function which returns this.getForm.get my field, my control I'm interested in, which is image URL. Okay, and here I'm going to use this instead of username, because username is copy paste from the another folder. Okay, and basically I believe we're ready. Here is going to be not login but create. Okay, so let me save that. And here, if we want to see the changes, we have to make a route for this. So I'm going to go in routing and say another path, which for now, just for now, is going to be create. And the component here will be this new component I have just created. Okay, so I'm going to do the following. I'm going to paste the name and add it. Okay, and right now, if I go to /create, I'm expecting my new form, which will be for the cats. Okay, here it is. Basically, keep in mind that here we can do this, which is very cool. And one more thing, that we're going to refactor our CSS, but for now we're going to focus just on the functionality, and after that we're going to make it pretty, okay? So, here another thing is that we have a service already, which is authentication service, but because of this rule for separation of concerns, we're not allowed to put here the logic for creating cats, basically because this authentication service is responsible for login and register, right? So here we can do another thing. We can go and create CD services. I can say here ng generate service, which will be cat service. Okay, just cat, because you know that service is applied after that. So if I do that, you know that here my app module is not updated, so I'm going to manually register that service. So basically I'm going to copy the name of this and going to the module, and after that I'm going to say that in providers array, after my authentication service, I'm going to put this new cat service here. And I hope that it's going to recognize it. No, it's not going. So I'm going to import it. Keep in mind that we have tools here. I'm going to show you the tools that you can move a part of code in another folder. It's called move.ts. And here we have an import optimization, but I'm going to show these hacks later. Okay, so now I'm going to say that here we have cat service, and it is going to be imported from services / cat service. Not the spec is for testing. Okay. So here we have the service, and here we have to write the logic. Of course, if we want to make HTTP request, we have to add the package which is responsible for this, which is HTTP client, as you know already, from Angular / not forms, but I won't come. Okay, let's say Angular /common / HTTP. Okay, here it is. Nice. Now I'm going to inject this in the constructor. I'm going to say private HTTP of type HTTP client. Okay, and after that I'm going to create. And here, of course, it's going to be a post request with payload. So here we have to describe a parameter which will be data or cat's data or whatever is working for you. And here I'm going to say return this.http.post. And here I have to create, let's say, private cat path. And here I'm going to, again, if you remember, here I have told you that we have two environments for production and for testing purposes, and here we can say that we want this environment variable, which is exportable, to our service. Once again, you can see that one more time here. We're going to do exactly the same thing here, and after that I'm going to say that environment.api URL plus I believe it was cats. Let me check that. Yeah, it was cats. Okay, so after that I'm going to say the path, which will be the cat path here, and after that I'm going to specify the payload, which will be the argument once the function is called. Okay, so here I'm going to show you very cool things with in Angular, which I'm sure you're already familiar with from C#. I'm going to create interfaces for my data in order to have IntelliSense, and here I'm going to say enough. I'm going to create a new folder which will be models, and these models here I'm going to create my first file, which will be cat.ts. This cat.ts will be exportable interface, which will be cat, and here I'm going to describe the data which is for the cat, which is ID. I don't know what exactly the ID will be. Maybe it's going to be string, maybe it's going to be number, I don't know. We can say it's number for now, and we're going to see the response from backend, and after that we're going to return here and change that if it's different. After that we're going to specify that we have image URL. I suggest you always to copy paste the name of your backend variables and fields, because if you don't, maybe it's going to be very tricky for you to debug 2 hours to discover that you have misspelled something, and that is why the backend does not accept your request. Okay, so after that I'm going to return to my service and say that this is a function which will return not object but observable of type I don't know what will be the response. I'm not sure if the backend is going to return our newly created object, but let's try that. If it's done, we're going to change it. Okay, so observable of type cat, as you can see here, it's not recognized, but my import is working for the first time. So I'm going to use it and say imports cat from model. And after that I have to cast this, because it's not going to be acceptable for my function, so I'm going to cast this to cat. Okay, and after that I'm going to return to my component, which was create post, and here I have to say that what was the function? Okay, the function was create. So I'm going to define a function which is called create. By the way, if you don't use this ng on init, it's good practice to remove it. By default, every component implements on init. We're going to talk about Angular hooks later. So I'm going to say create function, which will use our cat service, but our cat service is not here, so we have to inject it. And here we're making the DI, and we save private, what was cat service? Yeah, cat service of type cat service. Here it is. I have imported it with my auto import, and now I'm going to use this. I'm going to say this.cat service.create, and here I'm going to give my reactive forms value, this.cat form dot value. Okay, these things are familiar already. So after that, if you want to make a real query, I'm going to say subscribe, and here I'm going to have the response from the backend. And for now I'm going to console log this response from the backend and to see what is happening right there. So I'm going to save all of these things, and I'm going to my application. What are you doing? It's fun to live with cats. Okay, so I'm going to open the network tab, and I'm going to say an image URL. Okay, let me go and say some cat. Okay, there are funny cats here, so I'm going to use something. Let me just okay, so I'm going to say that I don't know, they're all strange. Okay, I'm going to to say that this is going to be the cat today. So I'm going to say copy image address, and I'm going to put that here. Once I have put it, by the way, we just saw that the validation is working, but that's not so interesting because we know that. This is a cat description. And now we're going to see if we're making queries. Okay, we are. And we're waiting right now. Cats is pending. Tum, 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 tum. Oh, here's an interesting part. If you see here, okay, let's just wait for the response, but I'm pretty sure what will going to happen right now. Of course, we haven't logged in, or we have, but as you can see here, we have to make our token to the server right now. And here's the most interesting concept, I believe, in Angular, that we have interceptors, which can be for tokens, which can be for errors, or whatever reason you have to use interceptors. And right now I'm going just to show you how you can append basically a header to your request. And after that, in the next video, I'm going to show you the interceptors, because believe me, if you want to use this framework, the interceptors are your best friends here. Okay, so if we go and say append a basic header to Angular, okay, I have searched that, I believe. Angular HTTP client append header to HTTP headers, Stack Overflow. Sounds legit. Let's see what we have. So, what do we have here? I just want the basic usage. Let's see this. Okay, so we have an object headers, which is head HTTP headers, new HTTP headers. Okay, dot append, content type, application JSON, and here we have headers, headers dot append, X correlation, ID, something like that. Okay, and how do we use that? Append name string HTTP headers. Okay, what's this? Appending header in HTTP headers from Angular common. Oh, okay. Let me see. Okay, so people are struggling here with this concept, as you can see. So let me try another thing. I'm going to say Angular 9. It doesn't send the request. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, headers.set. Oh, as you can see here, we have differences between versioning, because I'm not using this approach, as you can imagine, because I have interceptors. Why should I do this? But here we have a problem that we saw that in different versions, basically the one thing to add headers was with .add, and here we have headers.set basically. So okay, let me just try this. I'm going to copy this and go back to my service, because where else? I'm going to define this here, and I'm going to import HTTP headers from Angular common/HTTP. Okay, so now I'm going to specify the name of the header, which will be authorization. And here I believe I have to put bearer okay. When you're not sure, you're not sure. Okay, bearer, but here's the thing that I have to say space and after that my token, which is very, very interesting here, because as you remember, we have done this function called getToken. which goes to the local storage, gets the item named token, and returns the value, which is very cool. And here I'm going to use that. So in my service, I'm going to inject another service, which will be the authentication, private auth service of type auth service. Cool. And after that, I'm going to say here backticks for this, and I'm going to use the string interpolation syntax, and I'm going to just say this dot auth service dot get token, and here this part will be replaced for the token value from the local storage. Okay, so once again I'm going to see what is going to happen right now, if my header will be approved or not. So I'm going to take this picture again. I'm going to go to my application and say just this because I'm too lazy to do another thing. And I have cat 404. Okay, basically what is happening right now, that here we have defined this, but we haven't used that. Okay, so I'm going to say headers is equal to headers, equal to headers. No, maybe it was a dictionary. I'm not sure. I'm saying I'm using this just for testing purposes because it's not relevant to use that at all. Create. Okay, 404. Okay, first thing first, we have the header. Yay! After that, we have to do the login and see if the token is there, and if the token is there, if the right token is sent to the server, and so on. So let me try the approach again. So we have login here, and we have, I don't know what was the users, by the way, I believe it was Inessa, I'm not sure. Login form, we does not have that user. Okay, what exactly? Unauthorized. Great. What is the response? Just that. Okay, I'm going to register a user with the most unexpected name, with this email. I'm not sure if that is going to be good for my application, but I'm going to try. I'm going to say register. Register is successful, so I'm going to go to login again and say test with this password. And let me just show you something before I hit the button. So if I go to application and if I bring your attention here, you can see that this is empty. So right now, if I say login, as you can see, we have a response from the backend that the login is successful. We have the response for the token, and we have done our job as a front-end developers to put this token into the local storage. And right now I'm going to try another post request here for the image URL of this cat. Yeah, test. And let me see what is going to happen. So first thing first, we have 404. I don't know why exactly, but let me check. So here we have authorization with bearer. Oh, we have to put here bearer token, I believe, or token. I'm not sure. We have to check that with Evo, but let me try that. How to add authorization header, and here we have the response, which is authorization bearer. No, that's the case, I believe. So we have to talk to Evo. Let me just see if that is misspelled, but I don't believe. Bearer, okay. Yeah, okay. So the next opportunity here is to be a token. Let me try again. Oh, not this one. I want the cat one. Okay, one more time. Failure. Well, I believe that I have to say that here we have to spoke to our backend developer. Okay, so please keep in mind that is um, very normal thing for front-end developers that they get some route and they think that everything is going to be okay, and after that, as you can see on the previous video, we haven't this JSON format response, so it was plain text that it wasn't recognized by the program. After that we have to deal with this, but it's okay because we're just going to talk to the backend developer, in this case Civil, and everything will be fine.
Okay, so basically, the problem was that this wasn't deployed. So here we have to make something a little bit different. We should try again. So it wasn't deployed and the response was 404, which basically I thought that there was a problem with my HTTP request or something like that, but it wasn't. So at the end, we have to say that here we have to put authorization header with bearer, and after that we have to concatenate our token with a space between the two things. Okay, so let me try one more time in front of you just to see that everything is working correctly. So here is the image of a cow. I need a cat image, so I'm going to say again copy address image, go here and say test. And if I create that, as you can see, here we have a status which is 2001, which basically says created successfully. Okay, so that was the first thing. The second thing I want to show you today is how you can make authentication guards in Angular. This is a very hot topic. So here we can do something like that. We can prevent the user from coming on this route. And yeah, you should say that here on front end nothing is secure because everything is downloaded on the client and everyone can make changes and so on. Yes, you're right, but in most cases when we have a normal users, we should prevent them for even go to this URL and see this form. Of course, if they're not authenticated and if in some ways they just arrive here and they try to create something, they're not going to be able to do that because the backend would stop them. But basically, here on the front end, what we can do. So I'm going to go to the console and say cd one directory up, and I want to say here that in my services, I want to create an generate service that's going to be a service which will be outguard service. And here, a very interesting thing. So if I go here, you can again think that I'm going to have this service not registered in the app module. So I'm going to register that in the provider's array. Okay, so right now I'm having this and I'm going to implement something very specific. I'm going to say that this class is going to implement an interface called can activate. When I add that from Angular router, as you can see here, I have a problem with my class, and this problem is I should implement can activate method, and here I have to specify two things. So first thing first, can activate is a function that should return boolean. So I'm going to specify that here it is returning a boolean. That's cool, but right now I have to say some return statement. Based on what? Based on that, if the user is authenticated or it's not authenticated, I'm going to decide if the user has the rights to go to a specific URL. So let me write the logic if the user is authenticated. Here I can make a helper function which will be called is authenticated. Something like this. If okay, so if this dot get token, so if I have a result here, I should say return true. Okay. In other case, I should say return false. Okay, so in the authentication guard service, I'm going to inject my auth service. And say here I'm going to use this. If this dot auth service dot is authenticated, if the user is authenticated, return true. So I'm going to show you where exactly we're going to use that. And here's a very specific thing. So here I have to say no if the user is not authenticated, but the user wants to get a specific resource. I have to say, okay, user, you're not authenticated. You cannot get this page, but I can redirect the user to the login page, and the user will be allowed to log in after that and go to this resource. So I'm going to inject another thing from Angular, which is called router. With this, you can navigate between your routes. So it is from Angular/router, and here I'm going to say this.router.navigate to, here is an array of strings. I'm going to say login. I'm going to navigate to login. And because this is a function which returns a Boolean statement, I have to say return false. Okay, and what is the usage of all of this? I'm going to go to my routes here and say something very specific. Here I'm going to add can activate. And this can activate is an array of services, basically, with function called can activate, which returns booleans. So if every service, if every authentication guard service in role authentication service can be also and so on, if every one of them returns a return true, okay, the user is allowed to go to this resource. Okay, so right now I'm going to call this outguard service here in my routes, and I'm going to import it. Okay, so right now if I go to create, as you can see here, I can go here, but if I go to my application and after that I delete this token, which means I'm not already authenticated, if I refresh that, as you can see here, I'm redirected to the login page. So this was all. If you find this video useful, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you're Bulgarian and understand Bulgarian language, please go down below and see the link for my channel, which is in Bulgarian, for Python, Django, Flask, Angular, C#, and everything that you can imagine. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.